The morning sun filtered through our kitchen window as I sipped my coffee thinking about the 7 years Amanda and I had spent building our life in Seattle. Our framed wedding photo from Snoqualmie Falls smiled back at me from the counter. Everything seemed perfect until that moment. My laptop had crashed, and I needed to borrow hers for an urgent work project. When I opened her MacBook, a strange Google notification popped up. Something in my chest tightened as I clicked on it, curiosity overriding my better judgment. What I found made my entire body go cold. Before I tell you how my entire world collapsed that Tuesday morning, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you have ever had that gut feeling something just was not right in your relationship. My name is Cameron, and at 34 years old, I thought I had everything figured out. I work as a software developer for a tech company in Seattle, where I have built a solid career over the past decade. Before meeting Amanda, my life had taken a different path with Jessica, my college girlfriend from the University of Washington. Jessica and I had been together for 4 years, building what I thought at the time was an unbreakable connection. We spent countless weekends hiking the trails of Mount Rainier, where she would capture breathtaking landscapes with her camera. Photography was more than just a hobby for her. It was her passion, her way of seeing the world. I still remember how her eyes would light up whenever she got the perfect shot, her blonde hair catching the sunlight, as she explained the technical details of aperture and shutter speed that were foreign to me. Our relationship was not perfect, but it was real. We argued about small things made up and grew together through the challenges of early adulthood. When Jessica received a dream job offer from a prestigious photography studio in Boston during our senior year, we faced the hardest decision of our lives. After weeks of painful conversations, we decided to break up amicably. Neither of us wanted a long-distance relationship that might slowly deteriorate into resentment. The goodbye at SeaTac Airport remains one of the most difficult moments of my life. For 2 years after Jessica left, I focused entirely on advancing my career. I declined setup dates from well-meaning friends and avoided dating apps. Work became my escape, my purpose, until that spring wedding where I met Amanda. She was the plus one of another guest wearing a deep blue dress that complemented her dark hair. Her laugh caught my attention from across the reception hall. When our mutual friend introduced us, the conversation flowed effortlessly. Amanda was charming, witty, and seemed genuinely interested in everything I had to say. By the end of the night, I had her number, and the feeling that something significant had just begun. Our relationship progressed rapidly. Amanda shared so many of my interests, a love for independent films, hiking on weekends, trying new restaurants, even my preference for early morning coffee rituals. Looking back now, the similarities to what I would have described as my ideal partner should have raised questions, but at the time it only felt like incredible compatibility. Within a year, we were standing at Snoqualmie Falls exchanging vows. The first 5 years of marriage seemed to validate our quick decision. We bought a house in a quiet Seattle neighborhood, established traditions with friends, and built what everyone else saw as an enviable relationship. The subtle changes began so gradually that I barely noticed them. Amanda started asking more questions about my past relationships, especially about Jessica. At first, they seemed like normal curiosity, but they became increasingly specific. What restaurants did Jessica love? What made her laugh? Which photographers did she admire? Around our 5th anniversary, Amanda suddenly developed an interest in photography. She purchased an expensive camera and started taking classes. Her natural talent surprised me, though now I understand why. Her brunette hair gradually lightened to blonde over several months, a change she attributed to wanting something different. Her style evolved too, incorporating elements that now, in retrospect, make my skin crawl with their familiarity. Amanda also became increasingly protective of her devices. Passwords changed frequently, and she would angle her screen away when I entered the room. When I asked about it casually, she dismissed my concerns as work privacy requirements. The discovery happened purely by chance. My laptop crashed the night before an important client presentation. Hours of troubleshooting yielded nothing, and in desperation, I asked to use her MacBook. Amanda hesitated before reluctantly agreeing, watching nervously as I logged in. As I opened Chrome and began typing my email address, the autofill suggested an account I had never seen. Jessica Watson, 1992, study@gmail.com. The name hit me like a physical blow. Jessica L. Watson was my ex-girlfriend. The number 1992 was her birth year. My finger hovered over the suggestion. I knew I should respect my wife's privacy, but the specific reference to Jessica's name could not be coincidence. When I clicked, the browser filled in a password, automatically opening an account that made my stomach drop and my heart race. The first thing I saw were folders of photos, hundreds of them, all of Jessica. Some looked like they had been saved from her public social media accounts, while others appeared to have been taken from private accounts of her friends and family. I scrolled through in disbelief, trying to rationalize what I was seeing. Perhaps Amanda was planning some kind of surprise, but the knot in my stomach told me this was something far more disturbing. I closed the browser quickly when I heard Amanda coming down the hall, pretending to work on my presentation. That night, I barely slept, my mind racing with questions and possibilities, none of them comforting. The moral debate about whether to further invade Amanda's privacy kept me awake for nights. But after what I had already seen, I knew I needed answers. I waited until Amanda left for a weekend trip to visit her sister in Portland, giving me the space to investigate thoroughly. Once alone, I reopened her laptop and delved deeper into the Google account. What I found turned my unease into horror. The photos were meticulously organized into categories: Jessica's outfits, hairstyles, makeup, photography style, even her poses. Each folder contained detailed notes, comparing Jessica's features to Amanda's, with disturbing comments like, "Need to slim down 5 more pounds to match her frame, and practice her smile. Note the way her left eye crinkles more than right." Another folder contained screenshots from Jessica's professional photography website, including client testimonials that Amanda appeared to be studying. There were even notes analyzing Jessica's writing style and vocabulary from her blog posts. I discovered evidence that Amanda had joined 3 photography groups that Jessica had once been active in. Amazon receipts showed she had purchased camera equipment identical to what Jessica used, right down to the same brand of camera strap and bag. The calendar entries shocked me to my core. The 4 times Amanda had told me she was visiting college friends in Boston aligned perfectly with Jessica's photography exhibitions in the city. Had she actually gone to spy on Jessica? The thought made my hands shake so badly, I had to step away from the computer. A document titled "Similarities and Improvements" contained a comprehensive list comparing Jessica and Amanda's physical attributes, style choices, and mannerisms. Next to many items were notes, like "successfully implemented" or "needs more work." The document read like a project plan for becoming Jessica. Another discovery left me breathless. Amanda had been contacting Jessica's photography clients, posing as someone interested in booking sessions, apparently, to gather information about her methods and pricing. She had even befriended Jessica's cousin Tara through a local art group in Seattle, likely to gain insights into Jessica's life. My physical reaction to these discoveries was intense. I could not eat. Sleep became impossible. Anxiety attacks hit me at random moments throughout the day. Who had I married? The person I thought I knew seemed to be a carefully constructed facade. The journal entries I found were the most disturbing element. Amanda had been writing about becoming the better version of her and giving Cameron what he really wants without him having to ask. She documented my reactions to changes she made, noting when I responded positively to something that resembled Jessica's traits or preferences. With growing horror, I began noticing patterns in our marriage that I had missed. The Italian restaurant Amanda had claimed to discover it was Jessica's favorite from our college days. The surprise trip to Vancouver had mirrored a weekend Jessica and I once took. Even Amanda's spontaneous suggestion that we get a golden retriever came after she had somehow learned that Jessica and I had planned to get one before our breakup. Draft emails saved in the account revealed another layer of obsession. Amanda had written dozens of messages to Jessica that she never sent, Some were friendly inquiries about photography techniques, while others contained subtle digs comparing their work. The most concerning ones expressed strange sentiments like, "Thank you for shaping him for me, and I am perfecting what you started." Further investigation revealed Amanda had created at least 3 fake social media accounts to follow Jessica's friends, allowing her to gather information without raising suspicion. She had compiled a list of Jessica's entire social circle, with notes about their relationships and potential value as information sources. The most shocking realization was that this behavior predated our marriage. Based on file dates, Amanda had created the Google account within weeks of our first meeting, suggesting that her obsession began almost immediately. Had our entire relationship been part of this elaborate scheme? The final devastating discovery came when I found a document with Jessica's old blog archived. In a post from years ago, she had described her dream wedding a ceremony at a waterfall with wildflowers instead of roses and a vintage-inspired dress. My blood ran cold as I realized these exact elements had been part of our wedding choices I had thought Amanda made. She had created a ceremony that fulfilled my ex-girlfriend's dream, not her own. I sat in our living room as evening fell, surrounded by printouts of the most damning evidence, feeling as though I had been living in some twisted psychological experiment for years. The woman I thought I knew did not exist. She was a construction, a performance designed to replace someone else. The realization made me physically ill. I needed a plan before confronting Amanda. Simply accusing her without preparation would give her the opportunity to delete evidence and craft denials. I spent the next day meticulously documenting everything I had found, taking screenshots and saving copies to my personal cloud storage. When Amanda returned Sunday evening, I maintained a facade of normalcy while finalizing my approach. The next evening, I decided to set a trap. I prepared pasta primavera for dinner, a dish I had never made before, but was Jessica's favorite meal from a restaurant we frequented in college. I had never mentioned this to Amanda. "How did you know I was craving this?" Amanda exclaimed with delight when she saw the table. The question confirmed my suspicions she had no particular affinity for the dish, but was playing a role. "Just felt like trying something new," I replied casually. After dinner, I steered the conversation toward college memories, asking Amanda about her photography courses. "I loved the darkroom work," she said enthusiastically. "Processing the film yourself creates such a connection to the image." Amanda had previously claimed to attend Washington State, which had eliminated its darkroom facilities years before she would have attended. I took a deep breath. "Amanda, I need to ask you something. Who is Jessica Watson? 1992. Study." Her face transformed instantly. Shock, followed by a flash of recognition, then deliberate confusion. "What are you talking about?" "I found the Google account," I said quietly. "I know about the photos, the notes, everything." "You went through my personal accounts." Her voice rose as she shifted to offense. "How dare you violate my privacy like that? That is a complete breach of trust, Cameron." I remained calm. "I need you to explain why you have hundreds of photos of my ex-girlfriend organized in folders, along with notes comparing yourself to her. You are twisting this into something sick," she shouted, standing up. "It was research for a surprise photography project. I wanted to understand your past, to help you move forward." I pulled out the printouts I had prepared, folders labeled Physical Transformation Progress Notes, detailing how to modify her appearance, the calendar entries of her Boston trips, aligned with Jessica's exhibitions. Amanda stared at the evidence, her strategy visibly shifting. Tears welled in her eyes. "You do not understand," she whispered. "I was just trying to make you happy. By pretending to be Jessica," I asked. Her tears vanished, replaced by a cold anger that shocked me. "You have always been in love with her," she said with unexpected venom. "I could see it every time you mentioned photography, every time you looked at blonde women on the street. You never got over her." "That is not true," I protested, genuinely surprised by the accusation. "I found your old emails," she continued. "The ones where you told her she was your soulmate. The birthday messages you sent years after you broke up." I knew what I was up against. I felt dizzy. I had sent Jessica a few friendly messages over the years, but nothing romantic. How did you even find those Amanda's confessions spilled out in a disturbing torrent? She had researched me extensively after our first meeting, finding Jessica's name mentioned in a mutual friend's social media post. Curious, she had dug deeper, eventually discovering old photos of us together. Something about our relationship triggered her obsession. I studied her to become what you really wanted, Amanda explained, her voice eerily calm now. And it worked, did not it? You fell in love with me because I became everything she was, but better, more available, more dedicated to you. Our entire relationship has been based on this deception. I asked, my voice barely audible. It was not deception. It was improvement, she insisted. I became the perfect woman for you. I gave you everything she could not. By erasing yourself and becoming someone else. That is not love, Amanda. That is obsession. Her face contorted with rage. I see how you look at me when I do something that does not fit the Jessica mold. You compare us constantly. No, I do not, I replied, genuinely shocked by her perception. I never wanted you to be Jessica. I wanted you to be yourself, but there is no real you, is there? You settled for me, she spat. After she left, you settled for the closest approximation you could find. The argument escalated with Amanda, alternating between tearful pleas for understanding and vicious accusations. When she began throwing things, I knew I needed to leave. I packed essential items while she screamed that I was abandoning her just like everyone else. I drove to my friend Derek's apartment, where I showed him some of the evidence. His stunned disbelief validated that I was not overreacting. Dude, this is straight out of a psychological thriller, he said, reviewing the photos and notes. Has she always been like this? I did not know how to answer. Had she? Or had I been blind to it? Within hours, my phone began buzzing with messages from mutual friends. Amanda had already started her campaign, telling everyone I had abruptly left her after invading her privacy. Some messages were sympathetic to her, asking how I could be so cruel. Others were more measured, asking for my side. The isolation grew as our social circle divided, most taking Amanda's side based on her compelling narrative of betrayal. Only my brother Luke, who had always been quietly skeptical of Amanda's perfect wife persona, fully believed my account without question. I always felt something was off, he admitted, when I showed him the evidence. The way she would watch you for reactions, like she was constantly testing responses. But this is beyond anything I imagined. I sank into a depression, questioning every moment of our relationship. Which gestures had been genuine? Which preferences had been her own? Had she ever loved me, or had I merely been a project, a way to vicariously possess Jessica's life? The foundation of what I thought was love had been built on an elaborate deception that I had failed to recognize for 7 years. The first step toward healing came when I scheduled an appointment with Dr. Winters, a therapist specializing in relationship trauma. In our sessions, she helped me understand the patterns of obsessive behavior I had experienced. What you are describing has elements of identity assumption, she explained during our third session. Your wife created a persona based on someone she perceived as your ideal partner. The concerning part is the extent and duration of the deception. I contacted my parents in Portland, finally sharing the full story. Their unwavering support gave me the strength to establish firm boundaries. I decided all communication with Amanda would now happen only through legal channels. Every piece of evidence was methodically organized and backed up in multiple locations. My attorney, Melissa Garcia, reviewed everything, advising me on the divorce proceedings and discussing whether Amanda's behavior warranted a restraining order. The stalking aspects of her research on Jessica are concerning, Melissa noted. While not directly threatening the pattern, shows an unstable fixation that could escalate. I met individually with our closest friends, sharing enough evidence to counter the narrative Amanda had spread. Some apologized for their initial reactions, while others remained distant, too uncomfortable with the reality of what had happened. When I discovered Amanda had called my workplace claiming I was having a mental breakdown, I realized the extent to which she would go to maintain control. My manager thankfully was supportive after I explained the situation. The most difficult decision was whether to warn Jessica. After much consideration, I sent her a message, asking to meet at a neutral location. The coffee shop conversation was awkward but necessary. I always had a weird feeling someone was watching me online. Jessica admitted showing me strange messages she had received from mutual friends who turned out to be Amanda's fake accounts. My Boston friends mentioned a woman who looked like me asking questions at my exhibitions, but I never connected the dots. Our conversation provided unexpected closure on our past relationship. We had both grown into different people, and while the circumstances were bizarre, there was something healing about acknowledging that our relationship had ended for valid reasons, not because of Amanda's interference. The divorce filing triggered a series of desperate reconciliation attempts from Amanda. She promised therapy, declared her real love for me, was separate from the obsession, and tried to manipulate mutual friends into arranging meetings. "I did it because I love you," she pleaded during a mediated conversation with a therapist present. "I wanted to be perfect for you." "Perfect would have been honest," I replied. "Perfect would have been authentic." Though Amanda acknowledged some of her behavior, she continued to justify her actions as expressions of love and dedication. The blame shifting and lack of genuine remorse confirmed I was making the right decision. 3 months after discovery, I moved into a new apartment in a different Seattle neighborhood. Distance provided clarity, allowing me to recognize subtle red flags. I had missed how Amanda would test me with questions about past preferences. Her too perfect recollection of casual comments. I had made the strange coincidences of her, developing interests that aligned with mine. Through therapy, I learned to trust my perceptions again. I reconnected with old friends who had drifted away during my marriage, people Amanda had subtly discouraged me from seeing. I rediscovered genuine interests I had abandoned and slowly rebuilt a life based on authenticity rather than performance. The hardest lesson was learning to forgive myself for not seeing the truth sooner, as Dr. Else, Tulubli. Winters helped me understand manipulative people target kind, trusting individuals who see the best in others. My capacity for trust was not a weakness to be eliminated, but a strength to be protected with better boundaries. Looking back now, I understand that real love is built on acceptance of who someone truly is, not on transformation into who you want them to be. True connection cannot exist where authenticity is absent. Despite the pain of this experience, I have found peace in knowing that living honestly, even when difficult, is always preferable to living in a carefully constructed illusion. The journey to rebuild trust in relationships continues, but I am no longer defined by Amanda's deception. Each day brings new opportunities to connect genuinely with others and with myself. If you have ever discovered a painful truth about someone you loved, remember that betrayal reveals more about them than it does about you. The ability to trust again after being deceived is not naivete, it is courage. Have you ever discovered someone was not who they claimed to be? Share your story in the comments below. If this experience resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories of overcoming betrayal and finding authentic connections. Thank you for listening, and remember that your worth is never determined by someone else's inability to see it. Stay strong, stay genuine, and I will see you in the next video.